Hello, my name is Mirka Golden Hann and I am resident artist at Welche Creative. This project is to make a bird feeder, and we have decided to film it so that you can make it easily at home as part of our Pottery at Home activity. And this film has been made in co-production between Welche Creative and Salisbury ArtCare. So, in your pack you will find this amount of clay, it's 2 pounds. Separate small section and keep it aside and start working with the larger part. From this, again separate about, I would say, just under a third. Put the bigger lump aside and roll out a ball, and then using a rolling pin, or if you don't have a rolling pin, just flatten it by patting down with your palm like that. Roll out a circle. This will be the base for your bird feeder. Using fork, cross-hatch all the edges, all around the edge. And you will notice that all the tools which I prepared here are the sort of things you will find in and around your home. So you don't have to actually go anywhere to buy any special tools. I think all of this can be found at home. Next thing to do is to roll out a coil. So tear a section of clay from your larger lump and turn it into a sausage, and then roll this with both hands. Important thing is to keep the coil rolling the entire revolution and more. Using a fork, cross-hatch one side of your coil. And then we place it on top of the scored part. Be careful not to place your coil overhanging your base. This is good. And when you roll your coil, I would make it about this thick. This will then give you enough material to drag across whilst you join in the two parts together. Smooth the inside, but also the outside. Don't worry about the untidy appearance at this point, because when we've got the whole structure finished, we can work on the outside texture. Now we use the fork again. And our next coil goes on top. We will have to make another one. I'll just need a little one. Wiggle that one and smooth again. At this point, all you really need is get rid of any visible horizontal lines. So the material on the outside is crisscross and blend together. And again, smooth it on the inside. And you can see I'm starting to make a form which is conical. And in order to keep the form going up, you always have to use your hands in a way which supports that shape. So you do not let your form to be pushed out or stretched out. Just going to pinch it ever so slightly to give myself a little bit of height. And use the fork again. Now for the next bit, I will be using the rest of the clay and I will make a pinch pot. So I am right-handed, so I'm holding the lump of clay in my left hand and my thumb from my right hand is going in. If you are left-handed, I would try it the other way around. And once my thumb is in, I am pinching and turning the clay in order to start creating a pinch pot. And I'm shaping the pinch pot so that it has nice pointy shape, but it's got to be as wide as my bottom section. So I'm working on that. Test it. No, it needs to be a bit wider. So just carry on pinching. Nearly there. Slightly bigger. And it's better to do it gradually, step by step, widening it out, then make the pinch pot really wide and then trying to make it narrower. So that is good fit, and I'm going to use the fork to rough it up. Now I've got a very old toothbrush here. I'm gonna use that now for this part, just to rough up and introduce a bit of moisture at this point, because this joint is a bit more could succumb to a bit more stress than the ones below, so the little bit of moisture will help us to create a good bond. Okay. And again. Smooth the two sections together. If you want, you can use the back of the fork. See what works better for you. Some people prefer to use tools, other people prefer to just use their hands for this sort of work. Here we have, this will be the bottom of a bottom part of our bird feeder. At this point, you can, if you want, introduce some textures. Again, look around the house, see what you find. For smoothing, old credit card is actually a very useful tool. If you just want a smooth surface. But I'm gonna put this aside for a little while. We'll put a small hole there, and I will work on the next part of our project. So, just so that the birds know where to come. I thought it would be fun to make a little bird sitting on top of our bird feeder. So this is going to be the little bird. One pinch pot. Second pinch pot. Try to make them exactly or as similar as possible. In circumference, cross hatch, cross hatch, and join them together to make, to begin with, kind of an egg shape. and smooth it in your hand. And from this egg shape, you could start teasing out simple shape of a bird which will sit on our bird feeder. This is me doing the tail. Now you will find that the air which is enclosed in this form actually helps you with the modeling. So there is our tail. This is quite a chubby bird. I reckon it's a robin after eating something delicious. And then we'll work on the beak. I don't want the beak to be too long, because in the garden, especially in the wind, things can get quite broken. Okay. And you can spend lots of time doing this and have lots of fun and doing lots of intricate decoration on your bird. Gonna make him a nice textured chest and suggestion of the wing. You can make anyway, you can spend lots of time doing it as intricate as you like. But what you must not forget is make a little hole all the way through the body, and that hole needs to be big enough to be able to string a good strong string with your bird feeder. So here we have that. From the remaining clay, I'm just going to make a couple of beads. I will show you what these are for in a minute. But I'm going to return to our bird feeder. Your bird feeder, of course, is that the bird can go and feed from it. And for that, we are going to have to cut out a substantial hole. I'm going to do a round hole. I'm just going to mark out the size, about that size. And I will make one on one side of the bird feeder and one on the other side of the bird feeder. It's good if you find in your kitchen a knife that's got a little bit of a point, because it will be easier to get in and cut the clay with a pointy knife. And the way that the knife leaves the clay, it's not really suitable. It's quite sharp, so the next job will be to make that opening nice and smooth, so that your bird who comes and feed from has the best experience. You could use the sponge, or you could use your fingers. See what you get on with the best. And it is better for this part of the job to wait a few hours so that your clay is a little bit firmer, and the whole structure is holding its shape better. But unfortunately, for the purposes of this video, we had to do it in one take. And if you want to carry on texturing, you can. And make sure that at this point that your hole at the top is slightly bigger. You probably want about 3 or 4 millimeters. And then when you receive your returned bird feeder, you will string it up with a fairly strong string, and I would recommend that you put your bead in, put a string in. Your second bead could be placed inside to secure your string, and your bird will sit happily on top. So once you smoothed out your openings, also don't forget that you can now smooth out the join inside when we have put together the pinch pot on top of our coiled section. And that way we make sure that our bird feeder is nice and strong. And I just decided that I'm gonna have a bit of just very loose fun here with the fork, creating quite a deep, rough texture that I think will fit into the garden very nicely. And a good thing about this texture also is that it can hide multitude of unevencies and little bumps that you might have occurring on your bird feeder. It kind of almost resembles a little nest. So, when you receive your fired piece, what you will do, you will find a very strong string, and you can attach the string to your one bead, string it through, place your second bead on top, and your bird can happily sit on top of the bird feeder and create a loop at the top, which you can hang on a branch in your garden or on a bracket. But before you put your pieces into the box and return it to us for firing, please don't forget to write your initials somewhere on every piece which you have made, because that way we can match your box with all your pieces once it's out of the kiln. And safely return it back to you. And write your initials also onto the box in which you are returning your work, so that you can then, and your name, you can then easily find it when you are coming to collect it. Okay, so thank you for watching this video, and important thing is, have fun.